Alright, hello everybody. We are back to Minecraft, and just wanted to let you guys know there's a lot of stuff here you haven't seen because I was kind of at a point where I couldn't really record, but I was playing anyway, and I've got a lot of new stuff going on here that I didn't show you guys about. Um, for example, these turrets, because I got tired of creepers coming in here and blowing up all my stuff, so I set up these little turrets. They're a reference to the portal turrets. They talk to you. It's kind of weird. But on the other plus side, it keeps things from coming out because they don't do a lot of damage, but I got 3 of them and they have a lot of knockback, so it keeps them from coming in here and just messing your day up and giving you a bad time. So a lot of this, in the last episode I stopped with, I showed you how to make this ME drive, and I filled up a lot of the hard drives. So what I did is I hooked up an ender chest and a quarry in my little book world over here that I have. I've got all the mining going on. I mined like 3 really big quarries. I've just got a ton of stuff in here. I've just been stockpiling ores, and I built these computer terminals, which hold on, I'd a little complicated to make. Nothing too bad. So if you look in here, I just use these storage monitors, which is the cable, which was the flux dust and glass, which is pulverized nether dust, Certus dust, and redstone dust. And then this was the only really tricky part. It's just more cable, a redstone torch, and the processors, which were this setup again, as we saw a lot before. And I just made, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I just made a bunch of them. And the way these work, so let's see, let's just blow some redstone. They'll show whatever you're clicking on. So if I go to my empty hand and I click on it, it'll just be empty. But if I click on it with redstone, it'll show me how much redstone I have in my ME chest. So you do have to connect them, but the nice thing is that since applied energistics, they only have to be touching. It makes it really easy. You just hook up the ME cable from one. You don't have to have a bus or anything special. You just connect it to the. I have it running along the floor here. And I have it come all the way back to the terminal here. Get rid of all this stuff. I don't just dump everything back in because I only have so much storage space at the moment until I start getting into some bigger hard drives. I'm going to be a little conservative with my space. Okay, and the next thing, well, anything really. This over here, as you can see, I've got a jetpack. Pretty simple to build. It's just a lot of steel. So a lot of the stuff I've done recently is Rotarycraft, and I didn't want to go too much into that because there's so many tutorials on Rotarycraft. But I'll show you guys what I used and how to get it set up to the point that I'm at. So for the jetpack, you need 2 combustors. That's the same thing on each side. That's just a base panel and a reservoir, which is these base panels just in a U shape. Oh, and you have to use it on the work table. You can't use it on a regular crafting table. And if we go to Rotarycraft, whatever it is, somewhere around here. Oh, there it is. It's just steel ingots, regular crafting table, bricks, redstone, and stone slabs. And to make, and this is the thing that gives you all your steel. Right now I just have lava underneath it. Just 1 bucket of lava is enough to get it high enough to, excuse me, to give you the steel you want. And the more steel you have in these, iron. You put iron in it, and it gives you steel. And the more iron you have in these little spaces here, the higher chance you have of duplicating the amount of steel you get out of it. You need gunpowder, coal, and sand, and it uses up coal the most, but it has like a 10% chance of using gunpowder and like 50% chance of using sand. Like I put 6 in when I started this, and I've used, I don't even know how much, I've used like 8 stacks of steel, and it's used maybe 1 piece of gunpowder. So it's pretty rare that it uses up gunpowder, but you just have to have it in there. So anyway, back to this. Now this is still surrounded with redstone and an ignition unit, which is just this little setup here. You can use electrum if you have it left over. I don't know if that's the most efficient way. And then you put a compressor underneath it, which is just a gear surrounded by ingots, and the gear is pretty simple. It's just this T shape, and it gives you 3. I noticed this game, Rotarycraft, has a lot of things in 3, and this is even easier. It's literally just like a U shape of the ingots, and then you just put them into the work table, and you build your jetpack. One thing, it just gives you the jetpack originally. You can put this in your bedrock chest plate on the work table, and it'll give you this as a separate piece. Warning: when you do this, it'll reset the fuel. So like I had it completely full of jet fuel, or not jet fuel, jetpack fuel. It's ethanol. Jet fuel is actually its own thing in this game, which we'll get to later. But it will completely reset the fuel. So if you had it completely filled to its 30,000 millibucket limit, you're gonna lose all of it. So just a warning. Now refueling it is pretty simple. I have to have this item. It's just a filling station. You put it in. You have to have power to it. I'll show you real quick. I got a pretty simple little setup over here. I just have a couple DC engines and just stone shafts. They're pretty simple in terms of power, but all you have to have is a redstone signal to activate them. They're really simple. Here, I'll just show you. DC, electric. Yeah, they only give 1 kilowatt, 4 nanometers, and 256 rating. It's pretty good for what it is. They're great for just powering those little random things. So yeah, it's just redstone, base panels, a shaft unit, and some steel. By the way, the base panels, if you didn't know, is just 3 across and it gives you 3, and then shaft units is just going diagonal. Sorry about that, that was my phone. Oh, dang it, now I can't get out of here because I don't have the jetpack. Okay. Sorry about that. I wasn't really thinking. Usually don't. I'll just tell you guys that now. I have an extra one. Let's put it there. And the quick pipe. Okay. So it has to have power. I've got one, and this is the fermenter, which is how you make the ethanol. So you turn it on, and I'm using the redstone alternating power switch. So if, like, I have a torch on the other side here, and when you turn on a redstone signal, it'll actually turn the redstone torch off. It's just an easy way of, because I've got both the engines back there, so it's just an easy way of, so off is actually on. It's just kind of like an alternate thing. So anyway, you get your filling station, you pop this in there, it'll start to fill up, yada yada. Now I'm going to show you how to make some ethanol really quick. So you have to have sugar. Sugar and dirt are the first ingredients. Let's pull some of this out. Yeah, and also it'll show you how much stuff these really quick will show you how much you've got. Once you get past 1,000, it just says 45,000. Oops. Even though I've actually got 4,300 or 45,380. It's idle right now because I'm not having. Excuse me, sorry. I'm not running a quarry right now because I've got so much material to work with right now. So anyway, so you throw this in there. It'll give you yeast. I'm not going to run all the way through because I already have like 6 stacks of ethanol in there. So you have to throw this in there, and then you have to have some kind of plant material. The GUIs on these are kind of glitchy sometimes. And you have to have some kind of plant material. The easiest one to do is saplings. It'll give you sludge, but you can use like leaves. I like the saplings because if you take, you also noticed I have bedrock weapons and armor. I'll show you I took down the setup, but basically what I did is I used my redstone batteries, and these engines are nice because they turn our redstone flux into shaft power. And I know it's not the most efficient way to grind bedrock. Probably, I'm sure there's faster ways to do it. Like I know you can use those jet engines, which I'll get to here in a minute. Um, but I have so much redstone flux, like I have the time and I'm willing to wait. So if you're going this route, it works. Okay, so and it's like a 50-50 chance of using a yeast. So you actually get more than a stack of sludge, which is than you have for actual yeast. So and then you just throw it into an oven, and you can see right here I have an automated system going. I have an import bus and an export bus. Excuse me, trying to smelt all my iron that I got, and the iron flakes, which I'll show you, come from that machine back there, and I'll show you how that goes in a minute. And I'm not gonna smelt the rest of this. You get the idea. But anyway, when you smelt it, you get these ethanol crystals, and then once you have those, just throw them in there. There you go. I turn it off because those engines make an annoying sound. And then, okay, so what I have for my bedrock setup is I had one of these magnetostatic engine, magneto, and it's a little different. You need 2 lead ingots, 2 silver ingots, those base panels, a shaft core. You need those reception coils, which is just a gold ingot and 2 redstone, and you have to have a battery, one of those batteries that we made before. It doesn't matter what the charge is; it doesn't affect it when you build it. You have to have one. And if you don't quite remember, it's just electrum, 2 lead, conductance coil, which is electrum instead of gold, and then you have to take this, fill it up with redstone, and this is just more electrum, a diamond, and then that fused. Well, there's multiple different things you can do, but basically you need pulverized obsidian and lead, and you throw it in your induction furnace. See, I've got it right here. And I was making a bunch because you can also use this to make the conduit, which is just one piece with electrum on the sides. And I'll show you, I only have one right now, but up here I've got a bunch of furnaces. I'm trying to start working on the fully automated process. Still a work in progress right now, but that's coming along. Yeah, and now you notice I have a bunch of slime trees for ore processing, which is probably what we'll call this episode, because that's really the purpose of what I'm showing you here. I got a lot of ores, and if you notice, I wasn't really smelting them. I mean, I had a ton. So what you do is you use this machine. It's called an extractor. This is the best machine in the monster mod pack, because on average you get 5 ingots per ore. You still have to smelt it, but it processes it. So you have to have some netherrack, so you have to go to the nether to get this, but it's just one piece of stone, a shaft unit, base panel, 2 steel ingots, a wooden plank, a drill, and an impeller. Impeller is something we haven't seen yet. It's just another gear with just 4 around the corners, sorry, the sides, and then the drill, pretty simple, just 6 and then another piece. Now this machine has to have this one's kind of weird because each stage, like these 2 stages right here, the first and the third stage, need a lot of torque, and then the second and the fourth stage need a lot of speed. So to really maximize this, I know Reika has said a couple times that gas turbine is not the best, most efficient way to do it, but you really get a lot of fuel for what. I'll show you later how I get all this stuff for the fuel. Now what I do to solve that problem, you can see I've got a little redstone contraption here. There's this item right here called a CVT unit. What it does is you put belts into it, which these belts are also pretty simple to make. It's just leather around steel ingot, so you'll need a lot of leather. However, the nice thing about this mod pack is it's really easy to get leather. You just throw some rotten flesh into your redstone furnace. It has to be the thermal expansion redstone furnace, but it'll give you some leather, so you can just run around, farm zombies, get some leather. So it makes doing this part really easy. And what you can do is you can set it to redstone control, so when it has a redstone signal, it does different things. That's supposed to be on torque. Sorry. I'll see where it was. And it has to have 1 bucket of lubricant, which, by the way, to make lubricant, you throw them into a grinder. It has an internal storage. All those canola seeds that you've been saving up for, you'll see I'll show you my farm later, but I have a ton of canola seeds. I've been stockpiling them while I've been building up to this point. Because a lot of things use lubricant, like a lot of these gearboxes, which you use to change from torque to speed. Yeah, it's just kind of nice. It just keeps pushing them back and they can't get in here. Oh, oops. Yeah, they're really little. You walk into them and they break. And you have to be careful because sometimes they break for good and they break into an oracle turret and they don't even shoot at all. They literally just sit there and talk. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, back on track. So the CVT unit, you have to have bedrock for it. That's the only bad thing about it. So you do have to mine some bedrock, which I don't think I showed you. I got sidetracked when I was telling you about it. So you need these bedrock shaft units, which is just a regular shaft and bedrock dust. And then you need these shaft bearings, which is ball bearings, which is just 2 of those ingots next to each other will give you 8. And you just put 8 of those around one. A mount, which is these base panels and 2 ingots. The circuit board, that's a little complicated. You have to have ender pearl, gold, steel, and redstone. It'll give you 2 if you use an ender pearl, but if you don't have any ender pearls, you can use electrum and copper, and it'll just give you 1 circuit board. So you're not totally screwed, like if you're like me, having a really hard time getting ender pearls, because they're kind of hard to find. And then the screen is this ingots, glass pane, and that circuit board, and it'll give you your CVT unit. So this works pretty well because I have this timer, and every 8 seconds it'll turn a redstone signal on and off, and it switches between different settings on this to maximize the torque and speed that you need for each step. Oh, and it has to have water. So does this fermenter too. I forgot to mention you have to have water in this thing, and you'll see over here there's just a little pond. So I have a pump. Got that DC engine and then a pump. I'll show you real quick how to make the pump. It's pretty simple. Oh, you're in my house. Oh, by the way, the bedrock sword is awesome. You have to use the shaft units for the weapons, but I mean it does. Yeah, it's got sharpness 5 and looting 5. It pretty much does 19 hearts per hit unless you jump and get a critical. Then it's a one-shot kill on pretty much anything. Alright, so it has to have 1,000 kilowatts and 4 nanometers of torque, which is perfect because that's exactly what this DC engine does. It's pretty simple. You use an impeller again, which if you don't remember, it's just that. You need 3 liquid pipes, steel, a glass pane, and these base panels. These liquid pipes, I forgot to say earlier, you have to do these in the work table. It's steel on both sides and glass, and it'll give you those liquid pipes. It gives you quite a bit of them too, and these connect. These are kind of nice because they won't only connect with those pipes. You can run them next to anything. So if you have like a complicated setup going, it's not too hard to get them going because they won't connect with say those pipes over there, which are fuel lines, which is the same thing but uses obsidian instead of iron. And I'll show you what this is right now. After I should probably show you how to make these too. So they're little. Like the only time I use this mod at all is for. Why is it not working? Oh, Project Red. Sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff in this mod, but there's better things. Oh, except for I guess these count too, the lamps. Yeah, the problem is you run off redstone signals. So originally I had this moved over, then the redstone signal was making the light turn on and off, and it was kind of annoying. So for the timer, where is it? Let's see here, right? Can or no? Sentry mode activated. I don't see. Here we go. Okay. So you have to make a lot of these circuit plates, which you can do that, or you can just smelt smooth stone and give you 2 of those plates. Dang it, I keep losing stuff. Yeah, I'm just gonna type it in. Would you come over? And you need the pointer, which is smooth stone, redstone torch, and those circuit plates. The conductive plate, which is just some redstone on those circuit plates. You need 3 of those, the pointer, and then an anode, which is a little different. So it uses like actual electrical things. I don't know. I'm not an electrician, so I don't know if this would actually work in real life. And then these cathodes, which are just redstone torch on a plate, and then you slap it all together. There you go, and you right click on it, you can adjust the timing. And then this toggle latch is when you run a redstone through it, it'll switch back and forth between on and off. It says out, and I think it can run one constantly through that direction, which is how that works. But I don't really mess around with these too much. Like I said, this is the only thing that I actually use these for. This one's even simpler. It's a lever, 2 of those conductive plates, which is just redstone on a circuit plate, and then 2 of these cathodes. Then you set it up, plug it into the CVT unit, and now you have everything you need except for, oh, and this gas turbine. I should show you how to build that. This thing is a monster. When you turn it on, it makes the most god-awful sound. I mean, I don't know, I think it's cool. Now you notice I have these fences around because when you turn this on, it will suck anything into it, and if you have it right against the wall, it won't work. So I don't know if you need that much, but I dug out a little hole for it just in case. And it only runs off of jet fuel, and I'll show you how to make that in a second. It gives out 67 megawatts, 1,000 nanometers of torque, and 65,000 rads. It's not a, I mean, it's a lot of speed compared to everything else you've built up to this point. But it's not the best one for speed, which there's really only one purpose for that, which I'll show you later down the road. But for now, it's a little pricey to build. You need those diffusers, which is just that again. You need these combustors, which we've seen before. Same idea. A compressor, also seen those before. Now this is the expensive part, the compound turbine. So you need a shaft core, which is 2 shaft units and a steel ingot. That's pretty simple to make, but oops. These are the expensive part. So you need 2 of these, which is a compressor, which we've also seen before. But these propeller blades kind of, you need a base panel, a steel ingot, and a shaft unit. So you have to make a lot of base panels and a lot of shaft units. And that'll make 1 propeller blade, and you need 16 because you have to have 8 around each one. And that'll give you this compound turbine. That's the expensive part. The rest of it's just ingots, a base panel, and shaft, and that'll give you your gas turbine.
Could you come over?
Oh, and just so you know, everything in Rotarycraft you have to use a screwdriver. Pretty simple to make. It's just an iron ingot, a stick, and a wood plank. Not too hard to make. I think you can make it out of steel ingots too if for some reason you ran out. Well, actually I've had that happen a couple times. I ran out of iron, but I had more steel than I know what to do with. Because when you convert it, you actually get quite a bit of steel out of it. So, and now to power that, oh, by the way, if you stand on this, it'll hurt you. So, to power the gas turbine, you need jet fuel. And yes, I'm ready for all the jokes about jet fuel. Now, to do that, you need this item called a fractation unit. Now, I don't have anything in it right now because I don't really need making more jet fuel. But you can power it pretty easy. I have a Bedrock 8x1 gearbox. I have it set for speed, I believe. Yeah. And then I just have my magneto-static engine hooked up to it. These cap at these stats. 2,000 radians and 2,000 nanometers of torque. Which is fine, I guess, because that way you wouldn't make it too easy if you had to, because then that would defeat the purpose of building everything else. So I have a bevel gear here. If you don't know how to set these up, I will show you really quick. So these are cool. They're like the just direction change. When you set it down, it doesn't actually have a setting. So if you hook up something here and here, it won't actually connect until you physically tell it. If you right click on a screwdriver, it'll show you all the colors again. Green is input, red is output. So say if I want it to go from here and go up, I need to set click on it. I usually just use an empty hand. I have to set to black and output blue, and it'll switch it to that. You can just do that until you have it going the direction you want. And it doesn't actually matter. There's no different types of bevel gears. Like if we look at shaft units, actually that's not what I wanted at all. sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, here we go. Yeah, these just these shafts. Like you can make diamond ones, bedrock ones, and these have different amount of torque and stuff they can handle. But the bevel gears can handle anything. You don't have to have
Would you come over?
like if I hook up a stone shaft
Would you
to
come over
that gas
here?
turbine, it'll just break it because there's just too much power for it to handle. These diamond ones can handle pretty much anything. I don't know what they couldn't handle. I think when you start getting into some nuclear reactors, that's when it gets the breaking point.
Sentry mode
But at that point,
activated.
it's better off just to go with the bedrock. I still need. Okay, I'm just gonna do the bedrock right here before I forget again. So what I did is, I had. Is it still here? It is. Okay. The basic one is easy to do. You need one of these magnetostatic engines, and I just brought a redstone battery because you have to actually
Here.
make this weird little setup. You need a lot of those bevel gears because you have to like grind down onto the bedrock first and break it down, and it'll mine up to 5 blocks in front of it. However, it won't break through the last piece of bedrock, so you can't actually break through the bedrock in survival mode. You still have to cheat to do that. So what I did is I had magnetostatic engine set up, and then I had a worm gear, because what the worm gear does is it
Anyone there?
creates more torque at the sacrifice of some of your speed, but you don't need speed when you're grinding um, bedrock because it's all about the torque.
Searching.
Now if we look at how to build that, it's pretty simple.
Sentry mode activated.
Uses a mount, 2 shafts, a steel gear, and then a worm gear, which is just steel gears surrounded by a shaft. And then you hook that up to the bedrock breaker.
Sentry mode activated.
I should have brought a minute so I can show you how to build it.
Searching.
A little expensive, 2 diamonds, 3 obsidian, a steel ingot, and base panels. However, it'll just go forever as long as there's power running into it.
There.
Yeah, and I just had the magnetostatic engine hooked up right here, and then I just had the battery, and it would just mine forever. Well, up until 5 blocks in front of it. It takes
Is anyone there?
a long time to mine one piece of bedrock. It literally like chips away at it. It's gonna take like 10 minutes to mine one piece of bedrock. That's because of the setup I was using. Like I said, I didn't mind waiting because I have more redstone flux than I know what to do with. So it was fine. I just had that running while I was working on other things, mostly building all this because these lamps are hard to, well, not hard to make, but you need a lot of dye, and I just did anything else really while I was doing this. But when you're gonna need a lot of bedrock later down the road, so you might as well just start mining it as soon as you can. And then when you start getting into full bedrock armor, you're virtually indestructible. Like I've got it. The pickaxe is nice because you get silk touch. The axe, the axe is the best part because it acts like tree capitator, or it's better. Where did I put that? There we go. Alright, and the cool thing about it is not only does it chop down the whole tree in one swing, it's unbreakable. All these tools are unbreakable, and so is the armor. It never wears down. Each piece of armor gives you a specific thing, like projectile protection, blast protection. The pants are the best because you can literally swim in lava and you'll be totally fine. Oh, quick note. If you have the jetpack, avoid lava. If you get anywhere close to it, like if you're literally this close to it, like on the sledge here, your jetpack will explode. It'll destroy the chest plate, and you're stuck in the middle of the lava lake. I had that happen in the Nether because I guess that would happen in real life if you have like an actual combustible jetpack. So, and if you're on fire for whatever reason, like zombie hit you and you're in the daylight and you're on fire and you try to fly, you're gonna freak the fuck out. You're gonna go everywhere. Kind of cool. It won't destroy it, but for a little until you're not on fire, you're not gonna go in the direction you're hoping to go. So anyway, back to this cool axe. If I chop it down, it gets the whole tree. Sometimes I don't actually know what the specifics have to be. Sometimes it'll chop down like a line of the same tree. I don't know if it doesn't work too well with these dye trees because they all have different woods every time you grow one. But like I went to the Twilight Forest and I chopped down one of those giant trees there, and it took down like literally an acre of like pretty much the size I have my house of the trees around it, and it was annoying running around collecting all that wood. Oh, by the way, if you don't know how to make, oh, sorry about that. Yeah, and you can fall forever because the bedrock boots give you a lot of fall protection. So to make the Twilight Forest portal, you need a 2x2 of this area. You fill it with water, and it has to be surrounded by plant life. I think what different plant life you surround it by gives it a different variation of where it'll spawn. And then you just throw a diamond into the water, and it'll see it's struck by a lightning bolt. It'll make your Twilight Forest. What does that sound? That does not sound good. Is it this? No. Ah, okay. These need, I'm not sure this off really quick. These gearboxes, unless they're bedrock, yeah, see, it's ran out of lubricant and it went from like 12% to 50 really quick. You have to have lubricant. Where did all my buckets go? Otherwise, they break really quick and then you gotta completely start over. Where did all my buckets go? I had a bunch of them. There's one, better enough. I'm gonna need to grind up more of this stuff. Yeah, and they hold a bunch. It takes a while before it uses it up entirely, but yeah, dang, yeah. And if you build a bedrock one, you don't have to worry about this. Yeah. I'm gonna grind up some more canola seeds. So.
Would you come over here?
And there you go. Okay.
Is anyone there?
That's frustrating. But I mean, of all the things that could happen, I guess it's not too bad. And when it breaks, the whole block will just disappear. I think it'll leave the shaft box. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't actually had one break yet because I've been pretty on top of refilling them. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so back to running your extractor. This takes a long time to set up. You need jet fuel, and to make the jet fuel, you have to have this fractation unit. Why is it not working? Did I spell it wrong? Fractia, whatever. It's pretty easy to make. You need these gold ingots, a fuel line, which is obsidian and glass, and in your work table. And by the way, all these Rotarycraft machines you have to make in the work table. It's a base panel, a mixer, which is an impeller surrounded by these ingots, and so you're just doing the same thing twice essentially. And I don't. Yeah, I need 65 kilowatts and 8,000 radians of speed, which is why I've got this gearbox to give it. It doesn't have to be up to that specs. That's like the best speed it'll work at to make it work really quickly. So it's not very fast. Now to make all of this, you need all of this stuff. And when I throw this in here, you'll see I'll just put one piece in really quick. It'll start making it. You have to have all of these ingredients to make jet fuel. And it has, it'll literally just pick one at random to consume. Yeah, I see it picked something else, and sometimes you have like a small chance of it not consuming anything either. But you need ethanol, which I showed you how to make. You need coal, blaze powder. You're gonna need a lot of blaze powder, and you need magma cream, which magma cream you actually can make. You just mix slime balls and blaze powder. Which, by the way, if you found one of those jelly islands, or I don't know their exact name, but the slime islands, like I found in a previous episode, those slime trees, their trunk is slime blocks, which give you slime balls, so those are the best way to keep up on your magma cream. And I actually have a way to produce blaze powder. I'll show you how much I have here in a second. You're going to need tar sand, which goes, I think you can put these in any order, it doesn't really matter. You need tar sand, which is you grind soul sand. You have to grind it in the Rotarycraft grinder. If you put it in, like, say, the pulverizer, it's going to give you some other block entirely. It has to be the Rotarycraft one. And then you need netherrack dust, which is pretty obvious. You just grind up the netherrack dust too. And it won't actually consume it, but you have to have a gas tier in there to get to the final stage of distilling the jet fuel. And I just built a reservoir to keep it going, and then we'll finally get to the show point where now I have more freaking buckets. Here we go. I'm not actually going to use all. Well, might as well. Okay, so you want to maximize it, so be ready. Let's grind up some lead because I'm running out of it. So we're going to fill up these buckets. We're going to come over here. And it takes a while to start up. If we use, I think 4 buckets gives us. That's not actually true. it gives you a little more than that once it gets going. So you throw this in there. Here, I'm gonna get like 2 more buckets. Just oh, never mind. I filled up all 4 of them. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I've never seen that happen before. Okay, I guess we're using 8, which is fine. Okay, so it's got a bunch. It'll run for about. That can't be right, but anyway. So see how quickly it runs through. Each time it goes through one of these things, it has a 50-50 chance of doubling. You see, you can just kind of sit here, it goes through. Just keep collecting the ores. I'm gonna run all this through. So I started with 3 stacks of lead ore. I'm gonna make a cut, and I'll show you how much you have when this is done. Okay, so I'm gonna let it run. It's almost out anyway. Now I know it's not the cheapest way to, or like the most efficient way, but the setup I have is really easy to get jet fuel. I'll show you how blaze rods in a second. Now this is, I actually had to stop in here. If you look at, I've got 616 flakes plus these, so total I have almost 1,000 flakes of lead from those 3 stacks of ore that I got. And by the way, each one of those flakes will melt into 1 ingot. So just right there, that 3 minutes of running it gave me almost 1,000 lead ingots. You can look at my iron that I've got really quick. Yeah, I've got almost 2,000 to go. It's smelting those. That's why I'm setting up the automation. That way I'm not doing just one at a time. Yeah, I mean, for the amount of jet fuel you're using, that is so worth it. I mean, those 6 buckets of all this stuff you gotta make made so much ingot. Like, you don't have room for all that. Like, it's incredible how much it gives you. I'm gonna throw this away. Like, oh, not throw it away. Oh, okay. And blaze powder. Yeah, I've got over almost 600 pieces of blaze powder. I will show you, but you can farm a blaze spawner if you have the bedrock pick. I think it has to be the bedrock pick. I don't know if it'll work with just a regular like diamond soak touch. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, if you come up here, this little machine, I didn't have time to close it off, mainly because I was kind of lazy. So I've got magnetostatic engine, a bevel gear, some shaft core, and then I have, it's called a mob farmer. Okay, I guess I can get out. There we go. Here we go. Mob harvester, my bad. So it's these base panels, an ender pearl, and then this heater, which is iron bars, ingots, these base panels, and then a combustor, which is, as we've seen before. And I just have the magnetostatic engine hooked up to it, which is hooked into my nuclear reactor. So this thing runs forever. You just come in here, you stand. You can't really see it, but I've got the spawner up there. It pushes these. Here, I'll show you real quick. So if you come up here, I've got these lava blocks, which will emit some light. It doesn't work the best, but it's better than nothing. Yeah, so I've got the spawner here. Oh, the light was on. Okay. Ooh, man. Okay. Anyway, but I use those. I'm just gonna close this before I die again. That's not how it's supposed to go, but whatever. So I use those conveyor belts. I just use the regular one. It's just rubber, redstone, and iron. The rubber you can get pretty easy. You just chop down those rubber trees and it'll give you raw rubber, which you smelt into the rubber bars. You get quite a bit. But basically, literally, like, I just stood here and went AFK. See, I've already got 5. Just from 5 blaze rods just from standing there. And I had like 2 stacks of blaze rods, and I turned them into the blaze powder, and yeah, it's pretty good little setup. And that'll give you the amount of blaze powder you need for this. So the only thing you really have to try and get is the ethanol, which is easy. You just set up a sugar farm. The magma cream, you just get the slime trees, and then the netherrack and the soul sand, you actually have to go out of your way to mine. But that's easy for compared to everything else. Yeah, but the next step is automation. So I'm just going to set that up. I'll show you how I did it. And then the next step, which is you're going to need a lot of materials for, is we'll start working on a nuclear fission reactor, which is run off of Rotarycraft style. You'll need a lot of iron and stuff for that, which is the next mod, which is means we're getting close to. It's close in terms of steps, but the actual building time is going to take freaking forever. Because we'll start getting into like the fusion reactor, which is what I really want to do, and that's just expensive as hell. So anyway, I think it's a good place to stop. I'll start setting up my fully automated system, and I'll show you guys how I have that all set up, and then we'll start working on some fission reactors. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.